Hey friends, tonight we're looking at this Samsung 50-inch plasma. It's been our good TV for the past 3 or 4 years, I guess. Until the other night when, let's focus in, that black line came up right in the dead center of the TV. I did hear something, I don't want to say pop, but something happened inside. So let's take it apart and see what we find out, see if it's something worth repairing or something that might be a deal breaker for the value of the TV. It's pretty old. So let's see, fix it or don't. Well friends, it's been a late night. Not only have I figured out the culprit on this TV, I actually worked on a different TV sitting over there. Fortunately that one's LCD and it's got a much simpler board system to it, and I'll be able to fix a bulging capacitors set that have gone out. But anyway, back to our 50-inch plasma that's treated me quite well. I picked it up at a recycling center, plugged it in, and it worked from day one. And it's treated us well for 3 years. I never had to take it apart. But the black vertical line, I did some extra research online. I've gone ahead, obviously taken everything apart. You have your main power bus, or your switch mode power supply, receives the power from this connector here, and then this will divvy out your different electricity sources for the different boards. You have your X and your Y board right there, or vice versa, doesn't really matter. This is what's often referred to as the main board or the control board, the motherboard. This one here is your easy one. This one will often give you some problems. This is your graphics board. It's got all the inputs. That's what's going to process your videos and your sound as well. These ones are a lot more micro condensed in terms of the components on the board. The main board sends some very specific signals to your 2-axis on the screen itself. And those are powered though from these X and Y boards. So they receive power from one source, control from the other. And you can see there's a lot of redundancy, or a lot of symmetry when it comes to these types of connectors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for your vertical. And down here for the horizontal, I've removed an additional cooling piece of aluminum, and with the help of some stuff I was finding online, I'm going to try to switch over to the flashlight and see if you see some smudges on the plastic. Some of that's because there is a cooling paste on the backside of this aluminum that may have rubbed some, and the obvious reason to that is because there's a component on these ribbon cables that really heats up. I'm going to switch off this flashlight, go back to some natural lighting. Your power, what creates your video is the combination, the interaction of your X and Y, Z, your X and Y axis getting different signals at different pixel heights. But anyway, so that's just signal control. When that comes in from this control board, it's receiving power from the separate controls, but this is what they call high density. These flat ribbon cables, I wouldn't say one cable corresponds to 1 pixel, but it would almost seem as if it's that. It's probably one of those corresponds to a lot more. But when that comes into here, this is where it gets down to one ribbon, one cable on a ribbon corresponds to one vertical set of pixels. So you can see some of these connectors look pretty heated up, and that's an issue that if you have a TV that you run hours on end and or in a dusty environment that doesn't get cleaned out, they're going to retain heat. So that black vertical line was dead center with my TV, and then it off-centered Everything's backwards because we're looking at the back of TV, but this here, when the signal comes in off the board, it transfers onto these ribbon cables, which are just high density, a lot of different connectors right there that this camera won't pick up. And you can see through this flat ribbon cable. This ribbon cable has 2 additional chips, and it looks like it multiplies those connections coming in almost doubled per chip on the actual flex cable. This flex cable then goes straight into the tiered glass of the plasma screen, and it's very similar on an LED screen. So if your glass breaks, you've heard that it's not worth repairing because that's the biggest cost in your entire on the TV set. So if there's a crack in your glass, often not worth the repair. And this is the second closest. You can replace boards. Sometimes you can replace components on boards. You cannot repair a flex cable, or you have to be really skilled, and it's just not a practice that's commonly found. So I'm looking at it on an angle. You can kind of see through this flex. This one here on the right has a lot of dark black around it, which you might not think much of, but again, we're talking about overheating. When you go to peel it back, you can see they splotched little perfectly round circles almost for the paste to dissipate the heat onto the aluminum frame of the TV. Well, that little black spot is our dead giveaway. The component's burned out, and there's nothing that I will be able to do about it. So this TV, unless I want to live with a vertical black line on it, is not worth anything right now. Unless I were to part out the boards, but that's usually not worth it at this point in time. It's an older plasma TV. We can go ahead and turn it on. I'll see if I can catch it on the camera. Plugging it in. You'll see some of these LEDs light up from the internal part of the board. Alright, we got some sound. We got a nifty little light up there. Let's see. Alright, so you can try to line up that camera. So that's the menu, and it still has that black line on it. Anyway, if I come up here, normally that this bar aluminum is compressing to make sure that the flex cable both doesn't lift up, but as well to help dissipate the heat. If I touch this, this is pretty hot. And you can unplug this. Wouldn't recommend doing it while it's on. But if you unplug that, you'll get, it won't hurt anything in terms of the TV. I wouldn't recommend doing it for a long period of time, but you would see that by unplugging this flex cable, a equivalent portion on your TV will go black. So that's it. We were able to find the damage. It was visually localizable, but locatable, but not worth our repair. So this TV will be going bye-bye. Thank y'all for watching.